Should or shouldn't a princess be editing photos? Does it matter? This is MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Backblaze. MacVoices listeners get a fully featured no-risk free trial at backblaze.com/MacVoices. I wanted to take us to the next story, and this one I don't think is going to generate that much discussion. Just it's really interesting. Kate Middleton's photo editing expertise apparently is not what the world would like it to be, and so there's a huge controversy going on around this photo of her allegedly taken on Mother's Day and then edited. And I don't know. I can't get all that excited over this, but I do feel like it's something that we should just touch on, simply because we've talked a little bit about, and we'll continue to talk about, especially as the U.S. presidential elections happen, fake photos and doctored audio and doctored video. Is this really a big deal when compared to that, or should we just look at this as a bellwether?
Honestly, I'm really terrible at Photoshop, which makes me princess eligible, I think. If the expectations of princesses is that they're good at Photoshop and can hide their bad editing, then I think we're going to really limit those that can move towards the throne.
Ben?
Honestly, if she was just another mother of two posting a photo of her kids,
three. Facts matter.
Yeah, it shows you how much I follow the Commonwealth royal family. But if it was just another mother of young children, this wouldn't be an issue, because let's face it. Raise your hand if you haven't edited a photo. But honestly, this is a very unique situation where they're not only people, they are a publicly owned brand. So this probably should have gone through the PR people that Her Majesty's government pays for. Mark? Or His Majesty's government.
Yeah, careful here. Mark?
Without commenting on the cultural significance, of which I'm sure it's immensely important, this just goes to show that some of the analysis I saw, they were going in and they're saying, oh, well, this type of sweater wasn't available at this or that sort of time. But the stories today, and I think the one that Chuck linked to, was that somebody went in and they just extracted and looked at the metadata in the photo, and it had a clear history of when it was edited and what tools were edited in. It was edited in, and this reminds me of a couple of years ago. There was. I think some economist, was forced to retract an article he had published, because they discovered, fraud in the data files he submitted. And basically, in that case, all the forensic examiner did is looked in to see in the Excel file, and again, it had similar data of the history of changes and when they were made and what the changes were. So those sort of things were easily exposed. So. I think, I hope the message the world doesn't get is, if you're going to cheat, do a better job of using your tools to bury your tracks. But I think that's one. I think that's one interpretation of this. And there's another story I think that is more important that Chuck was alluding to, but I'll pass the baton back to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and we'll get to that eventually. Eric?
This was a huge story, but not because she edited the picture. That's fine. It's because it didn't get labeled appropriately before it got released. And that's her people's problem of not intercepting it and letting her send it out evidently directly. But this is going to be an ongoing problem for anyone famous, having pictures released about them and having them say, having the issue of, well, did this picture really happen or did somebody generate it or whatever? And if you're going to get any protections whatsoever or going to have issues if somebody releases a fake picture, then appropriately labeling modified pictures becomes a whole lot more important. And the fact that it was caught and questioned by most of the wire services, and one held out longer, but it took a fair amount of time. That I found actually kind of interesting as well. But yeah, I think that this is going to be a huge issue moving forward because it's going to be too easy even for images to automatically get adjusted without somebody even realizing it's happened, just in uploading an image and having whoever's receiving the image automatically tweak it and then publish it.
And that's called taking a photo with an iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This metadata is not cryptographically attached to the image. So, there's absolutely no reason, why that couldn't, you can't rely on that. So, I think this is meaningless. In some ways, in this particular situation, it almost makes me feel like it's more authentic. Because if somebody professional, did it, they would have known to, erase the metadata. But just because there's no metadata that says that means nothing. So, basically, you can't assume that images aren't altered anymore, or even video probably at this point. And, so I didn't really understand, I'd seen the headlines or whatever, hadn't clicked through to any of the stories until we just now to discuss for this. And I'm just kind of floored. Like, who cares? There's no accusation that she altered it in some way that, she's getting anything out of it. Who knows what she did in Photoshop, but, images are edited all the time. And, who cares?
Jim, I'm with you. And I can't figure out, because I think you're right. I feel like the fact that the metadata, wasn't edited or deleted kind of, I guess, explains, how it happened, why it happened. And I'm with you. I don't quite get the big deal other than the fact that she wasn't transparent about it. But you're right. Whoever asked for anybody that hadn't edited a photo to raise their hands. Of course you do. We're getting tools. Everybody's giving us tools, not just Apple, not just Google or Microsoft. Everybody's giving us all these phenomenal tools to get the image that you want. So I don't know. It bothers
me. To me, this, harks more to, back to paparazzi, hounding Princess Diana to her death. It's the same thing, like this intense level of scrutiny, in particular around British royalty, to the point where that's a pathology. This is not a tech story. This is a, illness of British journalism, and I guess the British consumers for wanting that or whatever.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Backblaze. MacVoices listeners and viewers get a fully featured, no-risk, free trial at backblaze.com/MacVoices. Go right now and see how easy it is to protect yourself from nasty surprises. It's time for a little step-by-step. Here we go. Number 1, take a look at all the data stored on your computer. Financial records, personal photos, resumes, personal and professional documents, data that can't be recreated or that would take days or weeks or longer to recreate. Number 2, shut down your computer and think about what it would be like if that computer didn't start back up again. Number 3, decide that you don't want to experience the real version of that punched-in-the-gut feeling you just had. Number 4, restart your computer and go to backblaze.com/MacVoices and start your 10-day free trial. Number 5, check out the settings and see how easy it is to set up which folders you do and don't want to have backed up, how much bandwidth you want to dedicate to your backup, even when you want your computer to perform the backup, automatically or on demand. Even learn how to encrypt your backup with your own private encryption key. While you're checking out all the items in number 5, your data has already started to be copied to Backblaze, meaning that it's safe and secure. It's just that simple to get started with Backblaze. Actually, you don't even have to do step 5 since the default settings are fine, but you really should be aware of the power and choices you have with Backblaze. Do it now, backblaze.com/MacVoices. It is probably going to end up being the most important thing you do today. Backblaze.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Backblaze for supporting MacVoices. Mark?
Yeah, it's like deja vu all over again. I think the point I was going to make is that I first saw this story. Well, I first started to see the image leach out through news on a Sunday morning, which California time was basically the end of the day, the end of Mother's Day in the UK. And then after that, it was exposed. At that point, there's all sorts of questions. Well, where was she and where was this photo taken and so on and so forth. And then there were, the following days, this piling on of, oh my God, it's a fake, it's been photoshopped and, so on and so forth. And, the deja vu part is one topic we've talked about here is, all these sites that want to steal your attention and eyeballs, they'll feed you all sorts of garbage. It doesn't matter whether Photoshop, a badly Photoshop edited image, of the Prince Duchess of Cambridge or whatever her title is, or any other story that hits the headlines.
Yeah. Let's see. I've lost track of where I am here.
It was me.
Next. Sorry, Webb. Yes, there it is.
I don't want to belabor this. There are a couple of things. I read this today that it was interesting that the way the tabloid press works in Great Britain, which is just they're animalistic to voracious to be polite about it. I think one of the things that the royal family, especially this generation of the royal family, really want to try to take hold of that through social media and try to get ahead of the tabloid press. This one didn't go the way they wanted to. Personally, I thought it was a nice photo. You want me to get in here with a magnifying glass and look at this and that and the other thing? Yeah, that's fine. I thought it was a mother and her 3 kids, and I thought it was quite lovely, but it's just, I think it's just silly. What did you say, David, here on the private chat? Is that kind of treating them like zoo animals? And that's really kind of sad. But it is what it is, and they know it too. Anyway, that's my only comment. I think they try to control their social media presence, and this one went sideways on them.
Jeff?
Family photo. That's all this was. Or all it was supposed to be. And people question why Harry and Meghan left and put a whole ocean between them and the rest of the royal family.
And moved to another ocean.
And moved to another ocean. That's right.
California.
Yep. That's true. They put a whole ocean and a whole continent between them and the rest of their family. That's there's a pretty dysfunctional thing going on here, just with the whole coverage.
The coverage. Jeff, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
The media coverage is bad when you move to LA to get away from it all.
Yeah.
Good point. Dave?
No, I was going to make the comment that I just think it's the fact of the matter that it was through the press for a number of weeks that she was ill and didn't want to publicize it and didn't want to talk about it. But she's a public figure, and people are going to be curious. There's going to be rumors and all that stuff. But so what do? They once she does release this picture of her family, like you said, family picture, and people are going to spend all that time looking at metadata out of a photo. Again, I don't agree with that it was done, but I think that's where it brought the attention, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. I think that was as much it as anything as it casts doubt, given that she has been out of the public eye so much. Right. The reason I brought this up, because I think Jim said, this is not a tech story. It's not, except for the fact that it has to do with a doctored photo, and we're just going to see more of this.
Hey, Chuck, here's another thing to keep in mind. When you see photos on social media, everyone assumes they've been edited in some way. The exception is when they aren't, and that's when it gets called out. So every photo on social media is edited, unless it says otherwise.
Sure. The video of this show is edited. And
wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you make me seem 100 pounds lighter, Chuck?
No, but I guess my point was that as much as we're joking about it, I try to make this video look as good as I can. That means there's a bit of post-processing done. And I'm not going to go down the rat hole of why I do that post-processing, other than to say that what I get out of our recording software is not as good as I would like it to be. So I run it through something else to make it look better, more enjoyable for the audience. I never even thought about disclosing that fact. I think it's come up a couple times in our casual conversation. But does that need to be disclosed? Is it really relevant? I don't know.
Alert the media.
Yeah. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.